With a surprise player winning the Norris last season, could we see this play out again this season? And could we see a Leaf in the running? We'll break this all down and discuss it for you on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get in all of that, we just want to say that 94% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you're looking for a home to daily NHL and Leafs content, look no further and go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that out of the way, let's get right into the main topic of the video today, which is our early Norris predictions. And the first player we're going to talk about today is Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars. Obviously, Heiskanen has been a great defenseman. Last year, picking it up as we've seen his ice time climb to about 25 minutes a game, and his points more than doubled from 36 to 73 in just one season. He's already an elite defensive player. Heiskanen is now added to scoring that attracts eyeballs without making sacrifices in his own zone. Obviously, this guy's had a great year last year, and I think we could see him in the running this season. And they say Stars players refer to Heiskanen as their best player as a matter of course. If Dallas continues as one of the top contenders in the West this season, his Norris Trophy buzz should grow accordingly. And obviously, Mark, I think Miro Heiskanen has been probably the most underrated defenseman in the NHL. Last season, obviously, he had that really good season. But before that, I even was really high on him when he came into the league. And I think this year he could definitely pop off. And I think we could see him in the top three for voting for Norris this year.
Oh no, for sure. You look at him putting up 72 points. He's the best defenseman at such a young age on Dallas too. And I think Dallas is just such a powerhouse. I mean, there's so much scoring up front. I mean, Pavelski, even at his age, is still doing well. Robertson, sorry, Sagan, Ben, Rupia Hintz. I think this team's just poised to put up points, be a top team in the West. And with him back there, just power play, quarterbacking, the top minutes, everything like that, I could see him put up 80, 85, maybe even pushing 90 points, depending on how the season goes for him. And like I'm saying, just such a young age, he's not really talked enough about. If he played in a market like Montreal, Toronto, New York, I think the media would drool over a guy like this. In my opinion, I think he might be my favorite to win it this year.
Yeah, for me too. I really think that Heiskan's going to win it this year. Like you said, I think Dallas has a really good team this year. And if they were in a market, say, like Montreal and Toronto, I feel like everybody would be talking about them. They got Ottinger back there, who was solid last year. Possible Vezina candidate this year, in my opinion. And they got Robertson there as well, who's a great goal scorer. They just got a great young core built around a bunch of veterans, like you said, like Pavelski as well. I think this team's going to have a great year in the West, and I think we might see a Norris Trophy winner in Heiskanen this year.
Oh, no, without a doubt. I mean, the 80, 90 points, I think is very highly doable. I mean, he's going to put up a lot of power play points. He's going to eat a lot of minutes. And if he can stay healthy, I mean, I think he's one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yeah, definitely. And like we've seen here in this article, he went from 36 points the season before to 73. That's a huge jump. And it just shows how much this guy's working behind the scenes, working on his game. And I think this offseason, he's probably even worked even harder. I think we could definitely easily see 80 points to 90 points out of him this season. And I think that could definitely cap it off with a Norris winner. And a good playoff run for Dallas, I think. I think this team is due for one. They had a run a couple years ago, but I think they're in for it again. We're going to get into our next player here, which might be a hot take, is Morgan Rielly from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know a lot of you are saying, Morgan Rielly, really? Do you really think that this guy's going to win the Norris next year? But we're going to make a case for it here. Obviously, Morgan Rielly's coming off that great playoffs with Toronto last year where he was, a point per game or just over a point per game player in the playoffs. He's only 29 still, so, he could still have a great year this season playing in one of the biggest hockey markets in Canada. And last season, he played 65 games with 4 goals and 37 assists for 41 points, which marks his 4th time in his career he's hit the 40-point mark. And the odds makers aren't very high on Morgan Rielly this year. I think he's the second farthest away in reliance to odds to win it this year. But I think Morgan Rielly is a great player. I think, a couple years ago, I think it was 2019 or 2020, that he was the favorite to win it halfway through the season. So I think if we can see Rielly get back to that game, and especially with the roster that Toronto has this year, I think we could see him in the running for sure.
Oh no, for sure. You look at Morgan Valley. I mean, I think the 40-point season, I think he's going to put up more than that. If he can push maybe a 70, 75-point season, have a high plus minus, I'm not too high on plus minus, but I know a lot of people do look at it. But if just say Toronto can win the President's Trophy, he goes as the best defenseman on Toronto. He can put up 70 points with all the firepower they added and already had. And just, have a good plus minus, not be a negative on the ice defensively. I think he has a high chance of making top three for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think Toronto's going to have one of the best power play units this year as well. I think they added a lot of guys that can really make that unit just happen and just make it convert a lot. And I think, Morgan Rielly, quarterback in that power play 1 or power play 2 unit, will add to his point total as well. But I really do think that there is a chance. There's definitely a chance that he wins it. It's definitely not written in stone, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
Oh no, for sure. Like I said, you could probably see 10 to 15 goals out of Riley. I know he had a really big slump in the early of the season last year, but I mean in the playoffs he scored a couple big goals, and I think you could kind of see that translate this year where he puts more pucks on net. You have a guy like Bertuzzi, Domi, even Ryan Reeves is an addition to this team that's going to be a big presence in front of the net. So you'll see situations where he'll throw the puck on more, might get a couple deflections, assists that way, or even just a screen for a goal. So, 10 to 15 goals, I mean, 50 to 60 assists. I think that, along with a good plus minus and the Leafs winning the President's Trophy, if they do, I think this would be a strong case for him winning it.
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree with you there. But, Mark, I'm going to ask you as a Leafs fan, I know you kind of have that little bit of a bias, but I feel like for Rielly to kind of win it, he's going to have to put up between 70, maybe to 85 assists. Can you see that coming out of Morgan Rielly this year?
70 assists might be a little hard. 85, I think, is almost unachievable. I mean, that'd be over assists a game. But I mean, if any team's going to do it, Toronto has such high firepower. I mean, the added guys, like I said, Domi and Bertuzzi, who are just going to be a presence in front. They're still going to pot goals. They're good playmakers. So a couple secondary assists out of that way. But I think it's realistic, say 50 to 60 assists. I mean, 60 might be up a little far, but I still think the 10 to 15 goals is highly doable. And like I said, he's not the best defensively, but if he can get a high plus minus, be a high plus on the side of not allowing goals against, if he's playing with Brody, who's a darling at the analytics, I think there's a chance, he might be in the running. He might see these odds shoot up a bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did end up winning it. A little biased and people are going to call me delusional, but I think it's a situation where if it happened, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, even as a Montreal fan, I think Riley's due one. I think, he's been a great defender in this league for a while, and I think this may be the season where we see him kind of have his career year here, I think. And especially with the roster that Toronto has, it'd be really cool to see him win one. We'd like to hear your thoughts on it down in the comment section below as we get into our next player here, who is Adam Fox, or as one of our buddies likes to call him, Jimmy Fox. Jimmy Fox, obviously a former Norris winner, great defenseman, probably my favorite defenseman in the league. As we look through here, he says Gerard Gallant and David Quinn are not exactly known as defense-first coaches, but that didn't stop Adam Fox for quickly establishing himself as one of the top defenders in the NHL. As we take a look here, obviously, like you said, he won in 2021 in the shortened 56 game season, but he was finished last year in second in Norris voting, I believe, and he played all 82 games with 72 points and blocking more than 100 shots for the third straight year. Mark, obviously Adam Fox has been just buzzing out there on the ice ever since he joined the NHL, and I think this guy is just on fire right now. And for the New York Rangers, are so lucky to have this guy. I think he could definitely be up there for winning the Norris again this year.
Yeah, no, he's such a complete defenseman. He's seen 72 points. I mean, he can block shots, he can hit. And I think just having the team like the Rangers around him, I mean, Trouba's on his right side. He has a guy like Shesterkin stopping the pucks. I mean, the plus minus is going to be there. I mean, he's not going to be on the ice for a lot of goals against. And a situation where we see so many young defensemen just coming in and making this impact. Some of these might not be as young as like Heiskanen, who's like 23, but it's in the situation where we just see this new regime of the young guys coming through. And I mean, Adam Fox, he's amazing to watch. I mean, he's a great passer. He can still kind of score a little bit, and he does everything you need. So it's another situation. I think he'll be a top 3 vote this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think why he's so high in the voting every year is just because when people think Adam Fox, they think he's more kind of an offensive defenseman, but he plays the defensive side of the puck so well. Like they said here in this article, he's blocked 100 shots in 3 straight years. I think this guy is definitely. I don't think he's slept on anymore. I think he's definitely, where he is. I think a lot of people highly have him up there as one of the best defensemen in the league, but I think we could definitely see this guy go for it again this year. But the next guy we're going to talk about is going to be hard to beat by anybody, and that is In fact, Cale Makar, the Colorado Avalanche, probably the top defenseman in the entire NHL. But as they say here, he missed 22 games last season, but still finished third in voting. And he played an average of 26 minutes time on ice, and he had 1.1 points per game. And we're going to take a look here. He said about at the BioSteel camp last week that this offseason has been a grind, so he's only working on his game. He's getting better. He's obviously just been working on getting back into action, where he missed those couple of games last year. I think we could definitely see him make another push for the Norris this year. And they say no player has won back-to-back Norris trophies since Lidstrom took home 3 in a row from 06 to 08. If Makar claims the second award of his career in 2024, after just a one-year gap, he'd be the quickest player to repeat since Lidstrom. And obviously, Mark, there's not much to say about Makar. I think obviously this guy is the best defenseman in the entire league. I think he has the skates, he has the hands, he has the passing, he has the defense. I think he's just the most well-rounded defenseman in the entire NHL.
Oh no, for sure. He's one of the best defensemen we've seen in quite some time. I mean, you look at the aspect, he can score goals, he can make assists, he can make plays on defense, he can do everything. He's a jack of all trades at the back end for Colorado. And honestly, I think it's him and Heiskanen at the end of the day is going to be battling for this Norris. I mean, Cale Makar might be the favorite. I mean, you look at Colorado, they're a powerhouse team. He's going to put up points regardless with a guy like McKinnon, Rantanen, and so and so. But you just look at it, and he's just a complete player. I think the Avs have an absolute just all-star back here. He's a franchise player, in my opinion. And it would not shock me if he's the second player since Lidstrom to win back-to-back.
Yeah, definitely. I think this guy is just like a powerhouse back there, like you said, and he's on such a great roster. I think there's no doubt in my mind that this guy could put up 100 and it wouldn't shock me. I think, last year it was hard for anybody else to compete because Carlson had such a great year, but I think this year is kind of going to be a battle between Fox, Heiskanen, Rielly, and Makar. I think the voting's going to be really tight, and I think it's just going to be a great watch throughout the whole season to see who's going to take home this trophy.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, you like I was saying with Kale, it's just you just get this phenomenal player back there, and I think he's just overall just the anchor. Even at such a young age, he's playing 26 minutes. He's anchoring that defense. He's making plays, and I think there's an argument who's better between him and McKinnon. But it comes down to I think all three guys, well, four if we count Rielly, have great favorites to win this. I think if it's not this season, a lot of these guys are going to eventually win one, and I think the league's in great hands with the young and up and coming defensemen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think we've seen a lot of great defensive prospects come in, and we still got more coming up, so it's only going to get better and better every year, which is going to make this race for the Norris even more interesting as the years progress. But, Mark, I just want to ask you, is there anybody that we kind of left off the list here that you think could sneak up there and win it this year?
There's a lot of guys. I mean, you look at Buffalo, they have a team that's up and coming. Detroit, too, Mo Seider. I think he's a great player. I think he needs to put up a bit more assists. I think, when it comes down to Detroit needs to get better as a team. But I think Seider has a high chance of winning one eventually. I mean, you look at him, he has a complete game. He's physical, defensively, he can still score, put up points. I could see maybe in the next 2 to 3 years when Detroit becomes a real contender that he could anchor this and maybe make a run for his Norris case.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. One player that kind of sticks out to me is Arbor Jack guy. I mean, but I'm just joking. I think Rasmus Dahlin is definitely that guy. Like I've said here on the channel before, I'm a big Dahlin guy, and I think this guy could definitely pop off this year and be up there in the running. I think, we could definitely see 90 to 100 points out of him, depending on how Buffalo's year is going. And I think for Buffalo to have a good year, I think Dahlin and Thompson have to have a good year. And I think Dahlin's just been one of the best defensive prospects we've seen, besides the guys we've talked about here today. And I think he could definitely win one, and I expect to him to win one at some point in his career. But we're going to get into our next topic here, which is obviously everybody's favorite comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to C.E. Thibault. He said, great episode, guys. We just wanted to shout out you, C.E. Thibault. Thanks for watching the videos. We appreciate the support. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 1,000 before the season starts, so we'd love to see that happen. And also comment down below on who you think's going to win the Norris this year. And if you think there's anybody that we kind of didn't talk about that could be in the mentioning for Norris this year. But I've been KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.